Mike Stopforth started Cerebra in 2006. Having studied an interesting combination of industrial psychology and then film, he found work in sales and marketing, and then worked with futurist and author Graham Codrington. Cerebra is Mike's first company, which he founded not knowing much about social media or how to start a business. It was the passion for what he did that drove him forward. Cerebra is an integrated strategic communication agency that specializes in social media and social business consulting for corporate brands. Not long after recording this interview in 2013, WPP acquired a majority stake in Cerebra. Hello and welcome to the jamespreston.org video blog. I'm very excited to be in Fourways, Johannesburg this morning. I have with me Mike Stopforth of Cerebra. Welcome to the show. It's a real privilege to have you on the show.
So James, thanks very much for the opportunity, first of all. Second of all, I'm surprised that you're happy to be in Fourways because it's a scary place. But yeah, it's good to have you in Joburg. Thanks for bringing the weather with you. It's a really stunning day, so glad you were able to make it, and I hope we've been good hosts.
Mike, could you just give us a brief intro to Cerebra?
We are a business that helps corporate brands communicate more effectively with their staff and their customers.
Those first 3 years of a startup, everyone talks about, every entrepreneur will tell you that those first 3 years are key. You get through those first 3 years, you're going to be okay. How are those first 3 years for Cerebra?
We make lots of excuses not to do cool things. People make lots of excuses not to try cool things. Cerebra has never had a good or a bad period. We've never had those first 3 years, and now we've never followed the business maturation cycle. We just exist, and we just do our best every day not to screw up. If you want to aggressively grow your business and you want to aggressively grow your investment in your business, because ultimately that's what it is, you have to constantly be bending the rules, be risking, and unless you're very lucky and you struck gold in those first 3 years and you can sit back for the rest of your business career and just reap the rewards, I just don't see happening today because, again, the environment, the competitive environment, the consumer environment changes so dramatically.
You now have 32 people working for you. When you started, you had the vision. You knew what you wanted to offer people. What's it like now to manage the people who are the custodians of that vision? What's it like to manage those people?
That's a really good question, because that's probably where most entrepreneurial businesses fall down, is where the entrepreneur, the person who originally had the vision or was the salesperson or whatever, suddenly removes himself operationally from those tasks, and people don't execute on it to the same standard, and then the business, sort of falls away. There's two parts to that. Number one is defining the vision. Number two is communicating the vision. So vision is an interesting, you mentioned that word right up front when you asked the question. My vision for Cerebra has changed dramatically over the last couple of years. I mean, it's at the core, it's still essentially the same thing. And in fact, we've probably gone full circle back to where we started. But so vision has changed, but I've realized that that's actually, the second part of it is communicating vision. That's become my most important job in Cerebra, because I'm very bad at this. I have these big dreams. I see this picture of what I want it to be, don't always communicate that very well to my staff, and then it's my fault if they don't necessarily execute on that. So 2013 has definitely been a year where I'm trying to quantify and define that vision a lot better and communicate it a lot more effectively to these guys, because ultimately they have to find a reason to get up every morning and come here. My reason is easy. This is my investment. Their reason is a little bit less easy, because they're getting paid a salary. You just have to rock up. But to do extraordinary work, they have to believe in something bigger. And that's my job.
You're on the other side of the spectrum now. You were an employee. Now you're the employer. Does that change the way you treat your staff? Do you try and shake things up a bit so they don't feel like they're part of the machine of a corporation?
Yeah, so there's two parts to that again. So the one is the perspective that comes with having been an employee, and you're right, I was a shocking employee. I would have fired my ass like in a week. I was a terrible employee.
Our generation were.
Jeez, I was a shocker. I hear what you're saying, and I think what you're talking about is that today's employee thinks and acts very differently to maybe the employee of 10 or 20 years ago. They are used to options, they're used to opportunity, they're used to experience, they're used to having the entire world at their digital fingertips, and putting them in a box and going, work really hard to make me rich is not maybe a sustainable model today. So I mean, there's a bigger debate about whether or not our industrial age legacy as businesses, even small innovative businesses, is starting to butt heads with our information age reality. These people that are kind of redefining the way that we do work. We have policies and procedures and contracts and all of the industrial age legacy building blocks that come with being a business in South Africa. I mean, obviously within the construct of labour law and so on and so forth. So we've got to have those things. But yeah, I actually met an agency in London. They work for 7 months of the year and they close for 5.
Wow.
So I was like, don't you lose clients? So they said, yeah. And then we get them back the next year, I was like, okay, how come? They're like, because we're absolutely brilliant. We're really good at what we do. Fair enough. So what do you do for the 5 months? They're like, we live. We do the things we want to do. And I was like, well, what's the thinking behind this? And they're like, if I can't spend the prime years of my life, the years where I'm my fittest, healthiest, happiest, most energized, doing the things that mean the most to me, what the hell am I doing?
Wow.
What is the purpose of being on the planet?
Great perspective.
I think that boomer mentality, that industrial age, work yourself to death until you're 65, so you can retire, get a gold watch, rest in peace and harmonious. That's all fine, but a lot of guys get to 65, get the gold watch, and die at 67 because they're so stressed. I mean, I know it's a horrible thought, but that happens a lot. You spent your whole life dying to make other people rich, and you've got nothing.
And how does Cerebra change that? What do you?
That's a very good question.
How are you going to contribute?
Because now I'm being very hypothetical.
To the difference.
Not hypothetical, hypocritical.
Because not yet. I haven't heard exactly how the corporation works.
Yeah, but I mean, my staff would watch the video and go, yeah, but you made me come to work at 8 and leave at 5, and I'm making you rich. So I mean, is the potential for me to sound very, very bigoted here. But one of the things that we do at Cerebra, so one of the things that is very important to me is that my staff have the opportunity to use Cerebra to build a very good profile for themselves. They have the opportunity, if I can no longer sustain that profile, to leverage it for a better position, better payment, or better opportunities. Our head of strategy, John, who I love to death, came to our business, a junior media planner at a media company. Now has left to 3 or 4 years later to be an MD down in Cape Town. A great opportunity, but that profile and his credibility has been built on the work he's done at Cerebra. I think it's awesome. I'm not upset at all. I think it's amazing. And obviously we're not going to be able to scale to the profiles of all of our staff. So if they can leave and achieve bigger and better things, I'm thrilled. That's awesome. So that's one of the things we do. Another one of the things we do is we just try and create a nice environment. So if you are going to work for me all day long, I hope that it's not completely and utterly crap. It's important that the actual physical space is awesome, that the clients that we give them the opportunity to work with are really challenging. And then the third one, which is quite difficult to quantify, but I really do believe that the work that Cerebra is doing is changing the way businesses operate. And so I'm giving them an opportunity, I guess, to make a dent in the universe. And if they get to do that, that's cool. Like, I think today's young people want to do that. They want to have an impact that's much bigger than themselves. Hopefully I'm not being completely hypocritical, because, Cerebra does offer that kind of environment. And we genuinely care about our people. Genuinely do. I'm not even just saying that. I really care about these guys.
That's key.
They're kind of my kids. And we feel with them and we hurt with them and we shout and scream at each other just like a family would, I guess. They mean a hell of a lot to us. So, yeah.
Is there a place for entrepreneurs to recognize it's not their place to manage or control their staff and thus step out of the way?
Okay. All comes down to the definition of entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So it's a word that gets thrown around a lot. I'm an entrepreneur. And I've had to think quite carefully about what I think it means for me. So this is my opinion of what an entrepreneur is. An entrepreneur is somebody who's able to create a commercially viable entity from nothing and remove themselves from that entity and it still be commercially viable. An inventor doesn't necessarily need to be commercially viable. They just need to come up with a good idea and try and get paid some money for it. Because what often happens is the inventor is only celebrated afterwards and didn't necessarily make the money or get the recognition that they deserve. But I think it's also important to recognize that you can be both. So in some respects, I'm the inventor. So in some respects, I'm the guy that comes up with the ideas, that develops the products, that conceptualizes and creates, but I'm also the guy that can execute and create the business behind the scenes. You can be both. I don't think you have to be either or. There's no rule that says you can't be both of these people. One would argue that Steve Jobs is another good example of an entrepreneur and an inventor. And a lunatic, but I mean, regardless, he was very effective in that role. Larry Page, great inventor. Maybe Eric Schmidt is the good entrepreneur. I do think that it's really important, though, that guys that have ambitions to starting a business, or believe themselves to be entrepreneurs, are very honest about where they are strong and where they're not strong, and seek to create, whether it's outsourced services or whatever it is, seek to create competencies to support their weaknesses. But don't try and be good at your weakness, because you won't be. There's no point in me trying to be good at financial analysis. It's not my thing. It's not the time spent trying to learn to be an FD. I would be able to render such a higher level of profitability just being Mike.
Okay, well, let's stay with examples. I want to look at Google as an example, and you picked up on Eric Schmidt and Larry Page. And we're talking about corporations, we're talking about the industrial age. It looks like the idea of big corporates is coming to an end. But we look at Google, and the death of Google Reader has raised a lot of eyebrows. People are now questioning whether Google can sustain its cultivation of new ideas. Has the monster started to attack the doctor, as it were, in a big corporation like Google? In this information age, are big corporations sustainable and even possible?
Yeah. But this is the business that redefined the entire world of advertising, economy, broke Wall Street. This business defined the late 90s and early 2000s, noughties, across the globe. And since they became a company, a corporation, they just slow down. Surely when you're a corporation, you should be able to speed up. I think that as you said, the industrial age perception of success was massive corporate, huge building, and the businesses I see succeeding today, they don't have these flashy offices, they don't have this amazing corporate infrastructure, they don't have these enormous overhead. They just are effective, efficient, agile, nomadic, and they deploy and iterate very quickly. We have to divorce ourselves from this idea of what used to be perceived as successful. You drive past Discovery in town, it's this massive building, and you're like, wow, that's success, But is it success? I mean, and I guess that's what's important to you at the end of the day. If money and domination and power is the only thing that's important, then maybe that's the answer. But if it's more about making a dent in the universe, creating a sustainable living, but at the same time doing cool things, maybe that big building and those massive overheads aren't necessarily even important at all. I look at a business like Woo Themes, a South African-based business that develops premium themes for WordPress blogs. There's a couple of people in the business, 4 or 5. They don't even need a real office because they all work remotely, and it's just a magnificent business. It's profitable, it's growing, it's sustainable, minimal overheads, maximum margins. Just a smart business, That's a real business for me. Every client that I speak to, every corporation, whether they are South African based or multinational or some of the biggest companies in the world, they feel pain. They feel pain. They're battling to articulate that pain. And because we don't necessarily have a vocabulary for it right now. So a lot of them go, it's social media, because we don't have a better word. But it's not. There is a massive shift, a fundamental shift in the way that people are connecting, collaborating, communicating, creating meaning for themselves, maybe even forming relationships at a fundamental level. And if that's changing, business is about people. We employ people, we sell to people. If people change, business has to change. If business is not changing, business dies. That's the pain that they're feeling.
Final question. If you were speaking to a room full of the most promising entrepreneurs in the world, you only had 5 minutes to give them advice, what would that advice be?
I would say start today. And even if you haven't started the business, start the idea. Deploy quickly, fail spectacularly, and then get up and do it again. Life's too short not to try. I don't have any other profound wisdom. I do know this though, there are fewer investments that will show better returns than a business that you work hard to sustain and grow. I mean, there's no ways for me to have multiplied or grown the wealth that's grown within Cerebra in any other mode of investment. So if you want to make money today, investing in your own business and looking after that investment yourself is probably going to be the best mode to do it in. Cool.
Fantastic, Mark. Thanks again.
Thanks very much.
And,
that was awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see Cerebra go from 32 to 200 and beyond.
Yeah,
see how you manage that.
That'll be cool. Yeah, I'll a lot more grey hairs. They haven't all fallen out by that point, but yeah, we do hope for the best. So,
great. Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Here we go, folks. Another video blog on jamespreston.org.